chaos, and the people at the centre of it were a bunch of car motor mechanics. Pulled from the rubble, lucky to be alive. One of 5 injured this afternoon, caught by an avalanche of stone chippings that fell from the rail line above. Below what minutes before was a thriving motor repair yard. Now all that's left is the wreckage of motorbikes, cars and trucks, topped by the derailed freight wagons.
It just got noisier and noisier, and I stepped back and just the sky went black, and well, it just fell down on us.
One man sought sanctuary under his truck, which was then immersed in stone. Colleagues that weren't hurt helped those that were. One of the mechanics was completely buried.
Just an almost bang, and I looked around and the train just come over the side, collapsed all the arches. As soon as it finished, I jumped over all the rubble to get everybody out, because all you could hear was just screaming. I mean, as I was helping, trying to find him, he was shouting out to me and he said, don't step on that, that's my leg. I said, well, where are you? I can't even see you.
I ran around the other side of the van and me and another guy helped drag him out, and he was quite, I don't think he's too bad, but he had quite a bad gash to his head and maybe his legs were broken where they got the actual rubble on top of him.
The emergency services arrived within minutes. Fire crews brought heavy lifting gear.
The immediate problem was the people, obviously, on the derailed carriages. They would be our first priority. And all the time, the first crews realised that their colleagues are only a minute or two behind them.
Officers then began to search the rubble with thermal imaging cameras, hoping no one else would be trapped beneath the freight train's load.
Well, the train itself is over 1,000 tonnes, and so 19 carriages, which obviously will move in, 7 have come off. A quick bit of arithmetic tells you that's a lot of weight with loose stone, and people were underneath it when it came off the rails.
But all have been accounted for, and only one of the 5 taken to hospital was seriously injured. One came back to visit the scene, as did local MP Sir Edward Heath, who heard of the crash while sitting in the Commons.
It's a big accident from the point of view of a goods train, and we should be thankful that there have been so few injuries. That's my first reaction. I'm very sad about the 5 people who have been injured. Fortunately, 4 of them are comparatively modest. And then my second reaction is, well, now they're getting down to work to find out the cause.
What they're doing now is they're putting lights up over the line so they can actually see what they're doing here at night. The first task is to make the area safe, then to get rid of those wagons and the chippings, and then they'll start looking at the line, which of course will ease any congestion tonight. Back to you, Liz.
Thanks, Richard. Well, more on that story.
Try and start moving some of this wreckage and sift through some of that rubble tonight, but it's really causing big delays on the railways. Big disruption tonight, and I'm afraid to say is going to be happening tomorrow morning as well. Now, 3 stations in this area have been closed. That's Albany Park, Bexley and Crayford. Not sure when they're going to be reopening again. The best advice really is to check before you travel, and there are bus routes operating in this area to try and bypass some of those bits of railway line that have been closed. All in all, big disruption for the foreseeable future. Back to you, Alistair.
Richard, thank you very much.
The roof down on their heads.
It just come down in a great big shower of rubble, so I put my hands up to protect my head.
We look at the possible causes, and we'll have the latest live on tonight's rush hour disruption.
At what point a freight train came off the line and smashed into a set of workshops under a railway arch. The derailment happened just after midday behind the Pharmax chemicals factory in Bexley High Street. At first it was feared that up to 20 people could be trapped in the rubble, but they were all later accounted for. Well, our reporter Robin Gibson joins us now from the scene of the crash. Robin.
Well, good evening, Gwen, and as you can see, rain is adding to all the problems that are happening here in the middle of Bexley tonight. The emergency services are now starting to move out after 6.5 hours at the scene, and we're moving into a sort of building reconstruction and investigation phase. Later on tonight, I'll be talking to someone who was here in Bexley at the time of the accident, as well as to a representative of Railtrack, who are, of course, responsible for the line. But our first report comes from Paul Curran.
The last 7 wagons of the goods train left the rails, spilling hundreds of tons of stones. As they tumbled down the embankment, the wagons crushed everything in their path. The crash reduced to rubble part of the workshops, which are housed in the arches under the embankment. People were working there at the time, and many had a narrow escape.
That noise train going over, it just gets noisier, and it got noisier and noisier, and it was like shaking, and we know the sky went black, and it's all falling down on top of us, basically.
What, the actual building fell down?
The whole of the front of the arch is gone, yeah, you know, the doors and shutters, it's all gone, just collapsed, the whole lot.
The 19-wagon train was travelling to Hoo Junction near Gillingham in Kent. It had just gone through Bexley Station. Builders working near the arches were the first to the scene and helped with the rescue.
The first thing we thought, well, there must be people hurt, so we tried to help as much as we can. And when we looked, we saw one bloke was trapped in a van, underneath a van. So we helped drag him out, and obviously we tried to look around and see if anybody else was trapped anywhere else and trying to help as best we can.
Firefighters used special listening equipment and thermal imaging cameras to check if anyone else was trapped. One of the injured ran a motorbike business. He was taken to St Mary's Hospital in Sidcup, suffering from cuts and bruises.
It was just so much noise and the rubble and the dust just all come down. It just took a few minutes for it to settle. The guy that I work with come over and said, your head's bleeding. So I got a towel to put on my head to stop the bleeding.
In all, 4 men were hurt, 2 have minor injuries and are expected to be released from hospital this evening. The 2 others have broken limbs and will stay in longer.
One person was trapped for about 15 minutes but released. He is suffering with head and pelvic injuries, but not life-threatening.
Much of Bexley was cordoned off as more than 100 police, fire and ambulance workers put into practice their emergency plan. This afternoon, the local MP and former Prime Minister Sir Edward Heath visited the crash site.
I know the area very well, of course, and there'll have to be an inquiry as to why the arches gave way, if that's the cause of the trouble.
Once the rescue workers leave the area, Railtrack will take over, but its clear-up operation could take days, possibly weeks. Paul Curran, Newsroom South East at Bexley.
Well, here back at the scene, I can tell you the latest that we have is that the roads are now open. But I'm joined to begin with by Brenda Mendrinos. Now, Brenda, you were actually in Bexley at the time. Just tell me, what was it like as you heard this eruption around you?
Well, our office is under the opposite railway arch, and we're used to trains going over the top. But this was very fast and extremely noisy. The building shook. The wine bar next door to us, the bottles all rattled. And the next thing we knew, there was a very loud noise, and then someone came running in and said that the train had gone over the bridge.
I mean, how has it left you feeling about this railway running through the community? Just how anxious are you tonight?
I am slightly more anxious than I was this time yesterday. I mean, it's never perturbed me, but having seen this happen today, it has made me very nervous about the thing.
Well, let's go to Kevin Groves from Railtrack. I suppose people in Bexley will be looking to you to say that this railway is safe tonight. I mean, just to explain what happens now and how you can reassure the public.
I'd just like to reassure the residents of Bexley that rail transport remains and is the safest form of land transport there is. Accidents and incidents of this nature are very rare, and we will strive to ensure that they're rarer still. Railtrack has launched an investigation into this accident, and we will ensure that the cause is determined. We'll work with the train operating companies in conjunction with the Health and Safety Executive, and we'll make our findings known to the Health and Safety Executive.
But just how soon is it going to be before, there is some information coming forward?
We've got men working now on site. Railtrack, our contractors are on site working now. We have floodlights up, we've got heavy plant on site, we'll have more heavy equipment and cranes, 100-ton plus cranes. Our job is to clear the spilt ballast, to clear the 7 derailed trains, the wagons, and then to start looking at the structure of the bridge that has been damaged and to repairing the track. So it's a big civil engineering job ahead of us.
And Brenda, do you feel a lucky person tonight?
Very lucky. Thanks, by the grace of God, it was us that was underneath that train today.
Right. Well, rail investigators are beginning to look at just what happened here, but our transport correspondent Tom Simons has been piecing together the likely causes of the derailment.
The freight train was made up of 19 wagons carrying spoil from engineering works. It's likely to have been travelling quite slowly as it passed Bexley Station in Kent. Less than a mile down the straight section of track, something caused it to derail. The train had just crossed a road bridge and was on top of an embankment when the last 7 wagons jumped the tracks. They ploughed through a concrete wall running alongside the twin track line, sending the massive wagons crashing through the railway arches below. A long section of the embankment was left in ruins, covered with the gravel the train was carrying. What's not yet known is why the train derailed. There are no rail junctions in the area, so signal or point failures have been ruled out. The investigators will now focus on the condition of the train's wheels and the track as they attempt to find out what happened. The speed of the train may also be a factor.
We have rail incident officers on site, gathering evidence on site. We will be interviewing the driver, signalman, our contractors to gather evidence to determine the cause of the accident.
The immediate concern of engineers was that the railway arches may have collapsed. That would have had safety implications across the southeast, but experts said it was highly unlikely the structures had given way.
Maintenance on these structures tends to be fairly regular, not too frequent, I don't think, but I mean, it would be checked periodically to check any failures, and you don't expect a sudden failure to happen just like this, really. It looks in this case like the trucks actually hit the parapet as they plunged down the embankment.
The front section of the train parked up the line will be carefully examined. The company running the freight service, English, Welsh and Scottish Railways, is part-owned by an American operator, Wisconsin. Its US operation has been the subject of safety investigations in the past. British services are run by former BR staff. But if the line's found to be in a poor state, Railtrack will be in the spotlight, facing new criticisms at the state of the South East's rail network. Tom Simons, Newsroom South East.
Well, as you can see, the cars are rolling and the rain is still falling here, but obviously there's going to be major disruption on the railway lines because of the closure here. We go now live to Charing Cross for an update from Brian Milligan.
Well, the rush hour is beginning to tail off here now at Charing Cross, but earlier on many of the commuters arriving here wouldn't have been very aware of the details of what was happening down in Bexley. In fact, even when they got here, they wouldn't have been very much the wiser, because what was said to them was that there had been a freight train derailment. That's how it was put to them, in no stronger terms than that. Well, joining me now to discuss the travel situation tonight is Richard Fern from Connex South Eastern. Richard, first of all, how difficult is it going to be for commuters to get home tonight?
Well, there are some delays and some disruption to the service because the line is blocked between Sidcup and Dartford at Bexley at the point of the derailment. This means there are 3 stations we cannot serve: Albany Park, Bexley and Crayford. Trains on the line are terminating at Sidcup, and passengers for the 3 stations that we cannot serve are being advised to travel to adjacent stations at Eltham and Barnhurst and Dartford.
Very briefly, how quickly is this situation going to clear up, and what's going to happen tomorrow morning?
The derailment will take some time to clear up, and there is some damage to the track and to the bridge work at the point at which the train came off the lines. This will take some days, in fact, to clear, so we'll be putting in special arrangements for our trains to be diverted onto the other routes and for bus services to the stations that we can't operate to.
Richard Fern from Connex South Eastern, many thanks for joining us. Back to you in the studio.
Brian, thanks very much, and we'll be returning to Beck.
Behind me here, Gwen, and there's 2 narrow entrances that we're standing in front of. Those are the yards, and behind, at the end of those yards, 300 yards away, are where 7 trucks lie fallen from the embankment. Now behind me there's feverishly activity as the chainsaws have been brought in to cut trees down, and later on tonight we know that a road crane is being brought into here to remove the wreckage. When and where we don't know, but it's clear it's going to be a long job.
Robin, thanks very much. Don't forget...
Injured one of them seriously when a freight train came off the line and smashed into a set of workshops under a railway arch. The derailment happened at midday behind the Pharmax chemicals factory on Bexley High Street.
The last 7 wagons of the goods train came off the rails, spilling hundreds of tons of stones. Everything in their path was crushed. Dozens of people in workshops housed in arches underneath the embankment had a lucky escape.
It was just so much noise and the rubble and the dust just all come down. It just took a few minutes for it to settle. The guy that I work with come over and said your head's bleeding. So I got a towel to put on my head to stop the bleeding.
What's not yet known is why the train derailed. There are no rail junctions in the area, so signal or point failures have been ruled out.
We have rail incident officers on site, gathering evidence on site. We will be interviewing the driver.
Railway arch workshops injuring 4 people. Commuters coming into London from Kent tomorrow morning are likely to face long delays. Paul Moss reports.
It's a long task and they expect to be here through the night. With the emergency services now gone, it's Railtrack who are left to clear up after today's accident. Rubble still needs to be removed before they can even begin restoring the train lines themselves to working order.
It's a big operation. We'll be having big 100-ton plus cranes coming here to site. We'll have low loaders. We'll be having dumper trucks, JCBs. So it's a big operation involving a lot of equipment and a lot of men.
These were the scenes just after midday when the freight train came off the rails near Bexley Station. It's now emerged it was carrying stone to be used as track ballast. That, together with the carriages themselves, ended up crashing down on workshops below. Within seconds, people found themselves trapped in the rubble. Many were pulled free by colleagues, some digging with their bare hands.
Just an almost bang, and I looked around and the train just come over the side, collapsed all the arches. As soon as it finished, I jumped over all the rubble to get everybody out, because all you could hear was just screaming.
Local MP Edward Heath visited the scene. He'd heard about the accident at the House of Commons.
We should be thankful that there have been so few injuries. That's my first reaction. I'm very sad about the 5 people who have been injured.
2 of those people have been kept in hospital, though none are now thought to be in a serious condition. Meanwhile, 3 stations along the Bexley line remain closed. An investigation has already begun into what caused the accident. This is Paul Moss for London Tonight.
Well, today's train crash will mean disruption on the railway network in Kent tomorrow. As Paul reported, some stations are likely to remain closed tomorrow morning. They're Albany Park, Bexley and Crayford. There will be a replacement bus service for passengers at those stations. And of course, we'll have any update on the travel situation in our bulletins in GMTV.
Crashing into workshops underneath railway arches. Damage to the line means Albany Park, Bexley and Crayford stations are now closed. And it could be weeks before repairs are completed. Paul Curran reports on the difficult clear-up operation.
Late this afternoon, work began on moving the 7 wagons that had crashed through the viaduct. The priority was the wagon which was still hanging over the arches. Engineers had decided it was a danger and had to be moved as soon as possible. A crane capable of lifting 500 tons was needed. Progress today has been slow. Inspectors from the Rail Inspectorate and an independent body have been examining the area.
We are looking at all aspects that could have a cause on the derailment, ranging from the infrastructure to the train itself.
It's also been a frustrating day for the people whose livelihoods were destroyed by the crash. Many waited near the site for news, but weren't allowed anywhere near their workshops, which are still covered in rubble.
Everyone's got personal possessions in the arches, sort of like house keys, money, bank cards, you know, all kinds of things, and there's nothing we can do.
The goods train and its cargo of stones crashed just yards from the business of Ken Mackenzie. Like many Bexley people, he believes speed may play a part in the accident.
It strikes me that they go through too fast. I mean, the normal passenger trains obviously stop just up the road at the railway station, but of course these things don't. They go straight away through.
As a result of yesterday's derailment, 3 railway stations remain closed. The only vehicles running on the damaged stretch of line are being used in the clear-up operation. Commuters travelling to central London from Bexley, Albany Park and Crayford have been forced to use other stations.
Packed, people were swearing on the train, shouting, trying to squeeze on, claustrophobic on there. It's amazing.
First it was the 757 to Cannon Street, then it became the 817 to Cannon Street, then it was changed to the 811 to Charing Cross.
Well, it seems to be about 20 minutes longer than normal, and utter confusion.
Just after 5 o'clock this evening, workers succeeded in lowering the wagon from the viaduct. It's expected that the clear-up operation will begin in earnest tomorrow, although work will continue here through the night. Paul Curran, Newsroom South East at Bexley.
The clear-up.
Only 8? Is that it? Is that the extent of your injuries?
I've got a small fracture of the skull and a small fracture in the wrist.
You should complain. You had how many tons of freight train on top of you? It's hard to calculate.
The ballast on each truck was 100 tons, so they tell me.
You're working in your workshop, weren't you, underneath the arches, yeah?
Yeah.
Hammering away. And what was the first you knew that something was going to happen?
Well, I heard a train coming.
That's normal, isn't it?
Yeah, it didn't take any notice at all. And some of them come along and they sound like they got square wheels.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's privatisation.
Yeah, there's one coming.
Right.
Didn't really take any notice.
Yeah.
But then the noise got louder and louder, and then it got really loud.
And then
bang, bang, bang. And I've looked up at the ceiling, I suppose.
Yeah.
And as I'd done that, the electric went off, and then it all just started falling down on top of me.
The whole workshop came in on you?
Well, not the whole of it, but half
a lot of it.
Yeah.
So what went through your mind? I mean, you obviously didn't know what had happened, but did you think that you were about to be gone?
I did.
You did?
I thought
Did
that's
you
the
lose
end.
consciousness at all?
I don't think so. It made a terrible noise, terrible noise, and then eventually it went silent.
And you were luckily dragged clear, dug out by a friend.
Yeah, eventually.
You were working on a Ford Sierra at the time, weren't you? What happened to that?
It was squashed.
Completely. Well, no. The point is that the half a ton of metal was squashed flat, and that's all you've got. Do you
the
think
arm was stuck in the bonnet?
Do you think God was sort of
see your
looking at this? Yeah. Do you think God was looking out for you, David?
I suppose somebody was.
Yeah.
Must have been.
Is that what's let you? Have you been left thinking that somebody was, an angel was there for you, maybe?
Well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Guardian angel just pushed the rain away.
Yeah, knocked on the
Good to
door,
be
but they
here.
wouldn't let you in, which I keep saying. Now, Brian, you were in the